Okay. Hello everybody, I'm Olivier Bault from the Ordo Iuris Institute, which is a Polish legal think tank with a legal intervention department, and I have with me Silje Garmo, who is a Norwegian citizen, who is the first Norwegian citizen who obtained asylum in Poland after World War II. That was in 2019. So this happened after you fled from Norway, from the Barnevernet Child Protection Services, with your small daughter, who was 1 year old at that time, or?
Oh, actually, she was just a couple of months.
She was a couple of months when you left Norway. And how old was she when you got asylum in February 2019?
She was 2.
She was 2 then. And you're still living in Poland?
Yeah.
So can you tell us first, when did you arrive in Poland, and how's your life here?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me, Oliver. I arrived in Poland in 2017, in the beginning of the summer. After I had to flee this center from Barnevernet Center, which I was placed without my legal consent, in order to hinder me from participate in my own child parental case. And when I was in this center, I received a message from my attorney, from my Norwegian attorney, that I had to go out from the center and go into hide. And then eventually we ended up in Poland after fleeing first to Sweden, but it was not safe there for us. So then after a couple of days, we had to flee to Poland.
So why did you feel it was safer to get to Poland than being in Sweden?
That's because I know the law, and the Scandinavian countries, they have like this special cooperation among them. And I also got the information that the police were searching for me, and they were tapping the phones of my team in order to obtain my whereabouts. And obviously then if they would have caught me in Sweden, I would have been sent right back to Norway without like any hearings or anything. So I also knew that I had friends in Poland that I could turn to if something went wrong, or so.
That was in what year exactly when you fled to Poland?
In 2017,
So in 2017 you felt Poland is a safer country for you and your child, who was a baby with just a few months, right?
Yeah.
So Norway, maybe not everybody knows, has lost several cases in front of the European Court of Human Rights in child abduction cases, where children...
Not child abduction, it's child protective services cases.
Yes, what I meant was of children abducted by the Norwegian state.
Yeah, that's one way to
as per
say,
the law, or in violation of the law, but certainly in violation of human rights.
Article 8, especially,
yes. So does the Barnevernet has a bad reputation in Norway, or is it, do Norwegians think that it's a very good system where this child protection service get into the intimate life of Norwegian families?
I think, like, from a public point of view, obvious, like, it's the best system in the world. And Norwegians are also rated as the most confirmed people in the whole entire world. So for a long time it was like this, whatever the state says, it must be like correct among the majority of the population. But now more and more people are starting to open their eyes to what's going on. But a lot of them, especially if they have children of their own, they are afraid to speak up because then they will go after their children.
And this hasn't changed after those verdicts by the European Court of Human Rights? Everything is the same, you think?
Actually, I think it's even worse in
really?
some areas, because even if, like, the Norwegian courts, they made some rulings just to, like, show that now we are taking this seriously, but in reality, the rulings are like, before the convictions in the Human Rights Court, it was like visitation right was like 2 to 4 normal 2 to 4 visitation per year. If your child had been removed from your care. And now after the rulings in Strasbourg, it's maybe like 6 to 8, 6 to 10. But in reality, if the child has been taken on non-sufficient grounds, if you have like 2 or 10 visitations per year, it's not like, I don't know, it's not.
And the reasons they wanted to take your younger daughter from you is that they accused you of taking too much paracetamol, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, that was
and of having a chaotic way of life. That was this kind of motivations, right?
Yeah, but my case was like this. There were no concern made by any other than my ex-partner. And he used barnevernet in order to gain custody. And a lot of people think that my older child were removed from my care, but there were actually no court decision, no nothing. So she was removed without any decision. And that was like also a ground that we, when we filed a motion for asylum, pointed out that there was like a lack of a fair trial, because there are and have never been any court order, neither of Frøya or Eirå in my case. So everything was done outside of the court, outside of, yeah.
So how old is Frøya now?
She's 19.
19, and Eirå is 7, right?
Yes,
yes.
that's
so
correct.
You live in Poland with Eirå, and Frøya is a student now?
Yeah, it was actually...
in Norway.
Yeah, it was funny that you mentioned her, but right before we enter, I was chatting with her, and she asked me to say hi to everybody in Poland, because she has, you know, a great relationship with Poland and Polish.
So has she ever visited you in Poland and met her younger sister?
Yeah, she's visited many times in Poland. So she liked it here. But now she's been accepted into this officer course of the Norwegian Naval Academy. So she's doing very well. So I'm really, really proud of her. But it's really hard to get into those courses. So
would you be able now to go back to Norway with Eirå and feel safe about being able to remain with your daughter? Or would you be afraid that the barnevernet, after all those years, when it's now been proven by experience, by facts that, well, nothing bad happened to Eirå, she's a normal 7-year-old girl going to school, to preschool still, everything's okay, right? So could you go to Norway?
I don't think I could go to Norway at this point in time. Yeah.
What would you expect? What do you expect will happen if you go to Norway?
I think some kind of revenge. and the only thing that they can use against me is my children, because they tried all other things like economic sanctions and so on, but so yeah, the only thing that I have left is Eirą, so yeah.
And you said the system in Sweden is pretty much the same. I think you speak Swedish, right?
Yes, I do. It's actually a fun fact, because my mother was actually born in exile. She was born in Sweden due to my grandfather's involvement during the Second World War. He was like heavily involved in the Norwegian resistance army. So my mother was born in Sweden.
And you think the Swedish child protection system is pretty much the same as in Norway?
Yeah, pretty much the same. They are organized like the same way, yeah.
So it's kind of a Scandinavian thing that the state takes away children from families for reasons which wouldn't be considered as valid reasons in other countries, yes?
Yes, yes. That's at least my opinion, yes.
And you actually fled also from Sweden to Poland when you came here.
And it's actually also last year I participated in a documentary that it was a Hungarian documentary that if you translate it into English, I think it will be like this: the abducted children of Scandinavia. And those journalists, they went to Norway and Sweden and investigated cases for like a year. And they also compared, and according to their findings, at least, it was like they were not able to find any family in Sweden that dared to speak openly in the documentary, but in Norway there were at least some. So I think that also gives a pretty good example of how the state is like.
And have you heard about this case of the Klaman family in Poland? As a Polish family who fled, we can say, Sweden at the beginning of this year because they were asked by the child protection services in Sweden whether they would voluntarily hand in their children to have them put in foster care. So they left Sweden. There was no procedure started. They came to Poland as Poles, Polish citizens only. And then a procedure was started from Sweden, and the Polish authorities deported the 3 daughters of the Klaman family who came back to Poland with them, back to Sweden to have them put in Swedish foster care. Have you heard about this case?
Yes, I've heard about it, and then I, of course, only know the case from like what I've seen in the media. So yeah, from that perspective, I know.
So as a person, as a Norwegian citizen who fled Norway and then Sweden to Poland and found asylum in Poland, what does this inspire you to see that now in Poland you can have your Polish children sent to the Swedish authorities to be put in foster care? Does this inspire you something? Some reflection?
As I said, I obviously don't know the factual sides of the case, but to me, as I understood, it was like even the first instance of the court that ruled in favor of a deportation. So for me, it's like hard to comprehend, also given the fact that those children are Polish citizens, that the case would not be handled within the Polish borders. Also from a legal perspective, knowing the provisions of the Hague Convention, it's for me hard to understand without obviously seeing the the court documents, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did Poland have, do you think it had an image of, because you said you felt Poland was a safer country than Sweden when you came here. Is this because of your personal connections, or did Poland, according to what you know or maybe don't know, did it have an image abroad of a safe country for families?
I think yes, like especially in terms of like my impression before I went to Poland was that you cannot just remove a child without a court hearing, at least. Like it must be some proof of yeah.
And do you think this may change now? I mean, as this case, I mean, do you follow maybe the Swedish media, since you know the Swedish language? Do they talk about, do you know if they talk about this Klämman family case? Or?
Yeah, some media, but they're like I think there is like the same as in Norway. They try to sweep like unpleasant cases under the carpet if they are able to, and they did that with my case for a very long time until the largest private broadcaster, TV2, came to Poland and made several news about me and Eirą. So I think that's how they deal with it. Because
Okay. And would you have, as someone who has lived in Poland for quite a few years now, I think your daughter Eirą speaks Polish, right?
Yeah, she's fluent in Polish. She's
and in Norwegian.
Yeah, and in English, and she also speaks some Spanish because she has Spanish in her private school. So, yeah.
Okay. So, what would be your message to Poland as a nation about this protection they can give to families from Scandinavia or elsewhere, about the protection you got from Poland?
Yeah, I actually have to mention one thing that strikes me as kind of odd, because recently it was like brought to my attention that a delegation from the Polish Justice Department actually visited Norway just recently in order to learn about the Norwegian Child Protective Service. And I think they actually also posted it in some official, posts. And I was like, I couldn't really understand why Poland should go to Norway, who has been convicted so many times, numerous times, that still have a lot of pending cases. Norway is a nation of just over 5 million people. Why does Polish authorities have to go to Norway to learn about this system? So I hope that they were going to learn about how the system is not working, but...
It was this year, yes?
Yeah, it was just a couple of weeks ago.
And at the beginning of the year, the Polish government invited ambassadors from different countries, European countries, to tell them that from now on, Poland would execute these orders asking children to be removed from their families when they find refuge in Poland. So that doesn't concern you, of course, because you already have asylum.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have concerned me anyway, because there were never a court order.
That's true.
So that's why they swept this really under the carpet, because even like the Polish police authorities, they asked their Norwegian counterpart to have the documentation for what they wanted them to do, and I think they're still waiting. No, many years down the line, it was like, because they were non-existent. So
we should hope Poland, in spite of this apparent change this year, will remain a safe harbor for people like you, and for families who flee child protection services, like in Scandinavia, the Jugendamt in Germany. There have been, in the past, there was a family also from the Netherlands, which the Ordo Iuris Institute helped. There was the Lisov family from Sweden, a Russian father. I don't know if you've heard of that case.
Yeah.
Yes, you've heard of it, who fled with his Sweden with his daughter, who was put in foster care in a Muslim family in Sweden while he was an Orthodox Christian. So Poland was really a safe harbor. And this seems to have changed with this Klaman case, Klaman family case.
Because, as I recall, the Swedish authorities actually acted in kind of the same way. They immediately came to Poland in order to remove the children also in that case. And I remember thinking back now that I remember some picture of the Swedish Child Protective Services present in the Polish court, hoping for an outcome in order to remove the children immediately, but they had to go back without the children. But in this Klaman case, it was like a total different story. But I also know, like, this case could be solved outside of the court if there is a willingness in order to use the diplomatic connection. Because I know from growing up as a daughter of a diplomat that the power of the diplomacy, it can solve pretty much everything if there is a will. And I also know from my own case here in Poland, because a lot of foreign diplomats, they intervene in my case.
Eventually this was a political decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was like also NATO ambassador from other countries. There were MIPs intervene from other countries in favor of Eirą and I. So I think, like, it contributed to, like, the outcome, because it was not like a Polish. It was obviously a Polish decision, but they have, like, support from a lot of other countries as well. In this case.
My last question, how is your life in Poland? It's not always easy, I suppose, to be a refugee in a foreign country. You haven't mastered the Polish language, which is difficult, right?
Yeah.
So how is your life with Eirą in Poland?
Our daily life is quite okay, but of course we miss our family abroad. It's been some challenges with, like, the legal documents, so that I hope that will be resolved, like ID, because as you know, the Norwegian authorities, they cancel our IDs when we arrive to Poland. So that makes it a challenge to manage the daily task without, like, having a valid ID. But I cannot sit here and say that I regret coming to Poland, because, like, I see, despite of those convictions that you mentioned, in the Human Rights Court, those parents who won their cases there, the majority of them have not had their children returned to them. They, like, the normal thing is, like, that Norway have to pay, like, 25,000 euros to the parents, and then they go on with their lives without their children. And, like, so because the Human Rights Court, they have no power or jurisdiction in Norway, so they cannot force Norway to do anything other than they can state that there has been a violation. So I'm not very optimistic about the system in Norway anytime soon. So, and I also heard that from sources in Strasbourg, because I have a lot of connections, that my asylum case hurt more for the Norwegian state than like all the convictions in the human rights court, actually.
So let's hope that with the change of government in Poland, Poland won't go down the path of Norway, but will keep being a safe harbor and won't give away its own citizens to child protection services from Scandinavia.
In this Klarman case in particular, I think they need to put the children first and their interests, and like they should really look into how this best interest of the child have been like evaluated in the case. That's important, and it's important also for the Polish government to like intervene, like to go to Sweden, or they obviously have representatives there, but in order to get to the children, if they, I don't know if they have or not, but like to maybe make their own opinion, because I also have personal experience, because I've assisted some cases in Sweden with the Swedish Central Authority and authorities, and from that experiences, I can tell that it's not very positive, because the handling of the case is very superficial from my experience.
Yeah, so it's a matter, like in your case, of political will.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you, Silje.
Thank you, Oliver, for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.